afternoon. Welcome all the participants. So please do turn on your camera while mute your microphone while we are waiting for the speaker from UNDP. I'm gonna explain about the afternoon sessions a little bit. In the afternoon, we gonna have a presentation on trends and challenges on the judicial during COVID-19. We have Mr. Nicholas Booth, the policy advisor from UNDP on that session, and following by another session on introduction of GIN Global by Ms. Tatiana Vires from Crime Prevention and Criminal Justice Officer Leader of the Judicial Integrity Team from UNODC. At about 1:30, we're gonna have a presentation on technologies in the judicial work by Ms. Apinya Siranath, Head of Expression, UNDP. So please bear with us for a while. Then we can ask the UNDP speakers to take the floor. So may I request you to turn on your cameras while mute your microphones. So may I ask Mr. Wisut Tantinan to take the floor? Good afternoon once again. So should we proceed with the next sessions? The first part we learn about the judicial development into digital transformation in ASEAN and how different countries like take up the journey on digital transformation, and there may be different impacts to different groups, for instance, to the vulnerable groups and others. But the findings from the survey, we found that there are different positive results, but there are still some concerns on different areas. But in the afternoon, we're gonna have 3 sessions. The first part, we're gonna look at the trends and challenges on judicial during COVID-19. And after different sessions, for tomorrow session, we're gonna have different judges from different countries. They're gonna share with us their lessons learned, their practices they apply during judicial digital transformation. And we're gonna hear their cases, studies, share with us. And so, may I lead you into the first session on trends and challenges on the judicial during COVID-19. We have our speaker. He is the lead policy advisor to UNDP in Asia Pacific, and he has been working with us since 2013 and providing consultancy on access to justice and on the rule of law program. He got experiences more than 12 years providing consultancy to different countries in different regions. And he prior to that, he got experience working in the legal area for more than 12 years. And he worked pro bono for different foundations, different associations. Please give a warm welcome to Mr. Nicholas Booth. So please take the floor.
Thank you very much indeed, Wisud, for that introduction. Good afternoon, everybody. I hope you can hear me okay and that the interpretation is working okay. I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to speak to you in English, so you might need to just turn on the interpretation button if you wanna hear me translated into Thai. I'm assuming everyone can hear me okay, because nobody is waving at me or causing anything. So let me tell you a little bit about what I'm going to talk about today. I want to discuss what we have been learning from the Judicial Integrity Network in ASEAN about technology and the uses of technology, and especially what we learned from that network during COVID-19. So let me just tell you a little bit about the Judicial Integrity Network in ASEAN. It's a network of judges from across ASEAN region, and we in UNDP act as the kind of secretariat for that network. We support that network. We also work closely with the Global Judicial Integrity Network, which UNODC established, and you're gonna, we have a speaker from UNODC after me, and you'll hear about the Global Judicial Integrity Network. And really what we aim to do with our ASEAN network is to just create a kind of a smaller community of practice among ASEAN judiciaries, and but very much working in sharing in some of the tools from the global network and collaborating quite closely. So and our network has got links with members from the judiciaries in Vietnam, in Laos, in Thailand, in Malaysia, in Indonesia, and the Philippines. And we get support from the US State Department for our work. We have an advisory board with judges both from ASEAN and from the broader Asia Pacific region, and we work with a number of partners, including the chief, the Council of ASEAN Chief Justices, and the International Consortium for Court Excellence, the Association of Women Judges, and as well as the Global Integrity Network. And our real aim is to support knowledge sharing between ASEAN judges, including through the tool of the self-assessment on court excellence, which has a section on judicial integrity. And I want to talk about two trends that we identified through the research that you already heard my colleague Sarah Mukubri talk about earlier. So I think she's told you about her research. And really these trends are a direct result of COVID, but they've raised some very important issues for us, including in terms of human rights. So I think you heard from Sarah about the GIN ASEAN research that we did last year when we had meetings with judges and we found out about the different kinds of technology being used in the courtroom and the administration of courts. And we heard about how since COVID, in some courts, there are witnesses testifying online, there are ways of receiving evidence digitally. You can have predictive judgment or auto-populated judgments, digital case management, lots of things. There was a big perspective. Not all judges see it the same way. Some said they didn't see any role for technology in the judging process. Some, however, thought that it would have a major impact. And I would like to, at this point, really commend the Thai judiciary for thinking ahead. And you've understood the need. Not only have you understood that technology and digital applications, transformation of the justice sector, you not only see that as essential, you also understand that it needs to be handled strategically to understand the risks and opportunities, to make sure that the risks can be mitigated, the opportunities can be benefited from. So I want to congratulate you for doing that. Now, it's fair to say that the COVID pandemic didn't start the move towards digital transformation in the courts. Actually, some had gone quite a long way in digitization beforehand, but it certainly accelerated things. And I want to talk about the two main implications of the digital transformation during COVID, on virtual court hearings and on people-centered legal services. So in terms of virtual court hearings, and you will all remember that in most countries, when the pandemic initially hit and lockdowns happened, courts locked down too to start. People thought that the public health, people thought the lockdowns would be short. They hoped that we would overcome COVID quickly. But then it soon became clear that lockdowns were going to be longer, more painful, messier, and that there was simply no way to carry on, with a complete lockdown, but we had to find ways of living with lockdowns. And that's when courts started to experiment with virtual hearings using online platforms like Zoom and Teams, starting only with the most urgent ones. But then as they became more experienced with them, more and more hearings were held online. And I think now, after 2 or 3 years experience, we can really see the advantages and the disadvantages. So, and both of them are very substantial. So what have we learned about the advantages? I think that there are seven advantages of virtual hearings. So of course, accessibility. We've always struggled with the problem that courts are often very far from people who live in remote areas. That's very difficult for people with childcare, for people who are not as mobile. So everyone can attend court without having to travel a long distance, without having to worry about a childminder or their mobility issues. Secondly, courthouses are really scary. They're very intimidating. However much we try to make them accessible, it's easier for someone to go on an online hearing from home or from a local community lawyer's office. And I think this is also important when witnesses give evidence. I think it's less intimidating for a witness to give evidence online. They feel more protected. They feel more safe from being, harassed. I think in a court, even with the best protection from the judge, it's more intimidating for a witness. It's particularly good with cases with young children as witnesses, or victims of sexual or physical violence. It's much safer. They don't feel there's any likelihood that they're going to be re-victimized. They don't have to fear confrontation with the perpetrator, the alleged perpetrator. So I think it's excellent in terms of, especially for dealing with vulnerable victims. It brought access to justice for areas that had really no courts at all, number 4. Number 5, potentially it's very good for people with disabilities, because there are a lot of online accessibility tools which can enable people with all kinds of disability to participate. And frankly, this is important because in most of Asia, there are many challenges with full accessibility for people with disabilities, even if the accessibility issues for people with mobility problems have been solved. The problems for people with visual or hearing impairments are still not being addressed. So it's much easier for people with disabilities to participate. Number 6, it's easier to arrange language interpretation, just like we have today. And number 7, you can open them up to the public. So transparency is essential for justice. Justice must be seen to be done. It improves the transparency, it improves media reporting of cases, it can build public confidence in the justice system. But there are some disadvantages. So one, it took a while to sort it out. There were issues with licenses and subscriptions and getting computers for judges and reliable internet. So there are all kinds of technical problems and assets that need to be fixed. Secondly, there were real security issues at the beginning with people hacking into Zooms, and so there were real issues about the integrity of the court hearing, but I think those have been solved now. There's an issue, number 3, about physical evidence. It is sometimes really important to inspect physical evidence. That's complicated to do it online. Number 4, this is an important one. We are used to assessing credibility. Judges are used to assessing credibility in the courtroom, in person. We need to develop new skills and new techniques to ensure that witnesses are telling the truth, make sure that they are not being coached, that they don't have, people or other support and assistance in in giving their evidence that you can't see on screen. So that problem is a new risk that you don't have in an in-court hearing, and then it's added on the requirements for the capacity of court staff who need to be able to troubleshoot these court hearings when they go wrong. But all those 5, I think the one about credibility is still an issue that people are still dealing with. The others have really all been dealt with, so they're not so bad. And I think that most courts are now they've learned how to work with virtual courts. They're going to stick with them. They don't want to go back. And that introduces me to my second, topic, which is about people-centered legal services, because I mentioned how one of the advantages of technology and the virtual court hearings was that they brought justice for remote people living in remote areas or with other accessibility problems, and that was a major advantage. So there's been another way in which legal services have been changing to the public. I mean, of course, lawyers have also had to work differently. Lawyers have started meeting with clients virtually. It's made it easier to connect with expert witnesses in other cities or countries. It's made a lot of other things about justice easier. It's easier to file forms. It's easier to file documents. Court forms can be completed online. They can be served automatically without having to go multiple times to the courthouse or the lawyer's office. As long as the system deals with, the rules flexibly and takes away unnecessary bureaucratic requirement, the best systems are now using technology to enable court forms to be authenticated and served electronically. That saves a lot of time. that makes it much more accessible, that saves a lot of cost. And then it saves storage costs. It makes it easier for everybody who needs to access those documents to access them. It's taken away delay. It makes it easier to introduce electronic case management because everything is created digitally in the first place. It makes it easier for transparency. But we do need to consider, as we see these advantages and we think about technology from a people-centered perspective, we also need to ask ourselves who might be left out by new technology and how do we adjust our plans to make their needs. The point is that the real advantage of technology is not so much that it makes life easier for judges, although it does. It's not that it makes life easier for lawyers, although it does. It's really most important in the way that it enables people to access justice. And it's very important that as we carry this revolution forward, we adopt a people-centered approach and not a system-centered approach. So this shouldn't be about, digital transformation as an end in itself. It should really be an opportunity now that we have these new technological perspectives, to renew the research and take another look on who is accessing justice in our country, who is having difficulties accessing justice, what kind of difficulties are they facing from their geography or from the disability, or what other barriers they face. And how can we ensure that our new system, including through technology, is able to their access to justice. And that's really the work that we in the JIN ASEAN network, the Judicial Integrity Network in ASEAN, we really want to focus on working with our partner judiciaries on that issue of using technology for strengthening access to justice. I hope that you're all from the Thai judiciary, and Thailand has been a participant in our ASEAN Judicial Integrity Network. If you haven't yet, because we have individual judges who sign up and are members, and the individual judges who sign up, we have a quarterly newsletter. We share new ideas, we share resources, we provide opportunities to connect with judges in other countries and find out what they're doing and how they're solving problems. If you are not yet getting the JIN ASEAN newsletter and you'd like to get the JIN ASEAN newsletter, I would really like to encourage you to sign up for it. I just put the link in the chat. So if you are interested in learning more and becoming part of our network, please click on that link and sign up for our newsletter, and then you will be sure to get up to date with the best and latest knowledge that we have to share. Thank you very much, everybody, for listening. I want to once again express my appreciation that the Thai judiciary is organizing this seminar and this opportunity and taking so seriously the opportunities of leveraging digital transformation to strengthen access to justice. And I wish you the best of success with the rest of the conference going forward. Thank you very much indeed.
ครับก็ขอขอบคุณคุณนิกระหว่างนี้
Thank you, Kun Nick. So if you do have any questions on what Kun Nick has spoken about, you can raise the question right now. But if you don't, we would go to the next speaker. Just a summary of the Kun Nick's speech. JIN ASEAN covers a lot of work on self-assessment, on international framework on court excellence. And so there's a support, there has been a support from Malaysia to do the self-assessment as the beginning of a process that could lead to other things. And Thailand has adopted this and has adopted in a Thai way, in a Thai format. And Kun Nick mentioned two big things, that is the virtual court, the advantages and disadvantages, and or some limitations that have been found. Then I mentioned the importance of being a people-centered service. And so thank you, Kun Nick. If you have any questions, you can write in the chat as well. And if is there any question? If not, then we'll go to the next presenter. This person is an official of the UNODC, and he actually working in coordination on at the Global Judicial Integrity Network, which is the worldwide network. And he had over 10 years experience in providing technical advice and policy advice in various areas in terms of crime prevention and suppression, the human trafficking, corruption, and also judicial integrity that we are concerning about here. So welcome, Kun Tatiana Veres from UNODC.
Thank you very much for the warm welcome. Good afternoon to all of you. Good morning from Vienna. It's nice to be here, at least virtually, and thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to present to you a little bit about our relevant work conducted in the context of the Global Judicial Integrity Network. And actually, Nick very nicely explained the differences, but maybe for those of you who are not fully familiar with our work, I can also just very briefly introduce to you the network and what we do. So the network is an initiative of the UN Office on Drugs and Crime, UNODC, and it is an initiative launched around 4 years ago with the purpose to create a global platform for judges, judiciaries, and all relevant actors from around the world to share experiences, disseminate knowledge, and also, importantly, to address new emerging topics and challenges that judges face. Our main theme, as the name already suggests, is all judicial integrity related. Our main mandate is the UN Convention Against Corruption. So we try to help judges and judiciaries to strengthen their integrity as individuals as well as institutions, and to prevent opportunities for judicial corruption in the judiciary. I would like to try to share my screen. Just 1 second, I hope it will work. Okay, I hope that you can see it. So with regard to the topics of the current conference, and that is the use of new technologies, we have been addressing the topic of the use of new technologies and also artificial intelligence in the judiciary since 2018 already. And the main goal has been to promote experience sharing as well as mutual support among the judiciaries when it comes to these topics. And you are most welcome to listen to our numerous podcasts that we published on the topic. You can also read many opinion pieces written by different judicial experts and judges from around the world. sharing their experiences with the use of artificial intelligence and new technologies. We also have several really interesting webinars that you can listen to, and we also collect existing resources and knowledge from around the world. And at the moment, in our online library of resources, you can find over 100 documents, reports, and different good practice documents from around the world. So I would like to encourage you to maybe consider using this wealth of resources that we have gathered. They provide a lot of interesting insights on these topics. For instance, with regard to really concrete risks and opportunities of using new technologies and AI, such as predictive AI tools. Or you can also learn more about how the shift towards the digitization and the use of AI has already affected, but also how it will continue to affect judiciaries, individual courts, and judges, as well as various ethical implications and the interplay between the importance of, on one hand, of ensuring independence and fairness of the court administration and decision making, but on the other hand, also the importance of promoting transparency and efficiency. So all of this you can learn more about on our website. I might later post the link to the chat so that you can access it. And I know that you have been and still will be discussing different aspects on this topic with different great experts during this workshop. So maybe in the interest of time, I would like to highlight only one of our most recent work. And actually, as you will see, it's thematically a little bit different, but as you will see, it is still quite connected to the use of new technologies, and it might give you a little bit different perspective on the topic. And that is the topic of judicial well-being or judicial wellness, and how judicial well-being or the lack of judicial well-being impacts on judicial integrity, judicial performance, and judicial behavior. So this is a very recent work. Just a few weeks ago, we published a new global report that analyzes over 750 responses of judges who participated in our global survey that we conducted last year. And the report provides a lot of interesting findings on judges' experiences, whether they feel that they have enough time and opportunities to maintain their well-being, also what their needs are in this respect, what level of support their judiciary provides, and most importantly, what the judiciary should do to promote the well-being of judges. So I really encourage you to read this really recent report. It's very interesting. But what I would like to highlight in this session is that during this work, we also had some findings that actually specifically relate to new technologies. And for instance, we found that, I mean, first of all, many or most judges experience stress in their work. According to our research, 90% of judges always, often, or sometimes experience stress in the context of their judicial work. And we wanted to understand what are the underlying reasons for that? What are the factors that contribute to judges having stress in their judicial work? And in fact, 48% of judges who participated in our survey indicated that technologies and softwares also contributed to their stress, anxiety, and even sadness in the context of their judicial work. More specifically, judges shared that very often there is a very poor distribution of IT-based solutions and equipment, or in some instances, there is even no support in this regard. Very often judges mention that their case management systems are faulty, ineffective, inefficient. There are not enough innovative tools and effective technological solutions in the judiciary. And sometimes judges also mention that there is a lack of trained personnel for judicial staff who would be capable of providing not only the administrative support, but also some technological assistance. And as we know, the pandemic changed the whole situation a bit because many courts had to leave their comfort zone and they had to, in a very quick way, adjust to the new situation and explore new ways of doing judicial work. And that's why, and that was also mentioned in the previous presentation, the approach to new technologies has changed fundamentally during the pandemic in many judiciaries. We found in the survey that we were looking at basically contributing factors to the deterioration of mental or physical health during the pandemic. And we found several such factors. You will again find them in the full report. But again, new technologies were mentioned. And in fact, 39% of judges who participated, they found the need to adjust to new technologies as one of the factors contributing to the deterioration of their mental or physical health during the pandemic, which is of course a high number. But then when we looked further at the responses, of course, with regard to the changes caused by the pandemic, judges saw not only problems with the use of new technologies, but of course also great opportunities. And as for opportunities, we found in our research that many judges actually really appreciated the technological improvements and modernization that came in an accelerated way as a result of the pandemic, and the fact that these changes helped increase efficiency, they helped reduce unnecessary paperwork, and introduced innovative processes to dealing with various matters that maybe without the pandemic would have taken much longer to implement. Of course, a separate topic is also virtual or remote hearings, and I think you heard already on this topic. We found in our research that many judges, of course, understanding the various limitations and challenges of remote hearings, they would welcome to continue for at least appropriate types of cases with virtual or remote hearings, including in view of promoting their well-being. As for the problems associated with the use of new technologies as a result of the pandemic, we found that new technologies often cause anxiety to judges, and it is often because the judiciary provided very limited support as to how to use new technologies. Judges very often didn't have suitable conditions from working from home. They often had to use their own equipment, which in many instances resulted in insufficient IT infrastructure for them to conduct their work. Very often, judges would experience connectivity challenges during virtual hearings or during using different court applications and softwares. And of course, a recurring problem in many parts of the world is that judiciaries often have limited technological resources to provide to judges and court users. So obviously, as we found, new technologies can be a stressful area for judges, especially if they feel that they are left alone, that they do not receive sufficient training or support from their judiciary. So we found that while there is a great potential in using new technologies, including in the areas of e-filing, digital documents, online case management, and virtual communication, it of course needs to go hand in hand with other measures. And it is important that judiciaries build better digital infrastructure and capacities. Very important is to invest into training so that judges do not feel isolated, but feel that the court really supports their work. And also, we found that it is important to build digital security tools to ensure that all the new technological support would serve the judicial system and its values rather than undermine it. And as one judge participating in the survey said, and I'm quoting now, there was enormous stress on judges in some jurisdictions, including due to the new technologies, with no acknowledgement or support to minimize the problems and therefore stress. And I think this was a common experience during the pandemic, and the fact that many judges really lacked some tangible support from their judiciary in this regard. So in conclusion, I would like to encourage you to visit our website, where you can learn more about our resources on the use of technologies, the use of, or the ethical use of artificial intelligence in the judiciary, as well as all our latest work on the judicial well-being and the report that I was now referring to. But of course, I feel that all the topics are interconnected, so you are also most welcome to learn more about our work on the ethical use of social media by judges, which of course is also a phenomenon closely connected to the digital era that we live in, as well as our work on gender-related judicial integrity issues, which touches upon topics like discrimination and biases, which again is very connected to the use of technologies, as it is important, of course, to ensure that all applications used by the judiciary do not perpetuate biases or discrimination, including gender biases and discrimination, but rather help to tackle it. You can also follow us on social media, where you can regularly find updates about our work. We also have a regular quarterly newsletter about which you can learn on our website on how to join. So I will stop here. Thank you very much for your attention. You're most welcome to contact me if you have any questions, and I wish you all the best for the rest of this really interesting and relevant workshop. And UNODC is ready to be involved in this important discussion. Thank you.
ครับถ้าท่านไหนมีคำถามก็สามารถที่จะถามได้นะครับแล้วก็เนื่องจากคุณนิกกับคุณทาทรีน่าเนี่ยอาจจะไม่ได้
Anybody has any questions can ask the questions now. Kun Nick and Kun Tatiana are online from abroad too, so they have limited time. So if you have the questions, do ask now, and if you or you can write it in the chat, and I will try to gather the answers for you later. Ms. Tatiana has shown that under this the COVID situation forcing the use of technology and has affected the health, the welfare of the users because of the need to adapt to the new technologies, particularly the judges. And so there is a need to ensure that there is training and also support for the judges to be able to make use of the technology more easily. And this situation is found all over the world, and this has been reflected already on the plan to provide support for the judges that is already explained this morning. So that was just a summary. So Kun Nick and Kun Tatiana has asked has invited everyone to sign on to the newsletter. And I'd like to also mention that if you feel that we have anything in Thailand that you like to exchange with others, you can also write to UNODC and UNDP, because there would be good experience. for everyone.
เมื่อกี้เรามีการพูดถึงเครือข่ายต่างๆทั่วโลกที่มีการช่วยเหลือเรื่องนี้แล้วก็สถานการณ์ต่างๆทั่วโลก
We
แล้ว
have programs throughout the world to support each other on this area. So let I proceed by introduce you to the next session. We have adopt different kind of technologies in judicial area, and we're gonna learn from our next speaker about technologies in judicial work, and she is working with different agencies, different organizations to provide consultancy and advice on the technology. So please give a warm welcome to Ms. Apinya Sirana. She is the head of exploration from UNDP. And probably the session will not too long until 4 p.m. But we're gonna have some time for Q&A. And after her presentation, we will return the floor to the JTI for following session. So please. Thank you very much, good Wisut. And good afternoon and welcome everybody to the next session. Let I say that the following session will be the kind of exchanges about the technologies that we at the UNDP work with different government agencies, different organizations. And I think for digital technologies, sometimes it is kind of the new trend and new emerging technologies that many agencies have to gear up and have to learn about the adoption of the technologies. And so we learn from the best practices from other agencies in other part of the world and what happened in Thailand. So I gonna show you different case studies and what kind of the emerging technologies that have been adopted in different part of the world. And after that, tomorrow we're gonna have more chance for good exchanges and feedback. And tomorrow also you will hear from the experiences from different judges that they work with the emerging technologies, and then we could learn from them, right? And so without further ado, so may I share the slide. And please tell me this is visible. This is okay, right? For the overview of my agenda, it will cover 3 parts. The first one, the importance of digital transformation. And many of us heard about it. We heard it a lot. It become a buzzword in Thailand about the digital transformation. And so we're gonna learn the importance of the digital transformation and its applications to the Thai judicial system. And the next topic I'm gonna cover about the application of different digital technologies at the court, and starting from different services and including probably the back end infrastructure and how we can like improve the services responses. And the last part I'm gonna give you summarize and about how to start the digital transformation journey. So at the court, how we gonna start, probably starting at your own unit and then scale up. And we have suggested toolkit from UNDP so that you can start by using the toolkit. When we talk about digital technologies, we heard a lot about disruption. And different parties face challenges, including the private partners in the private sector, and we heard different kind of buzzwords. For instance, on this slide, you will see the blockchain, the cryptocurrency, the AOI, Internet of Things, etc., cloud technology and everything. So those words are part of the digital technology that can bring about disruption. And we like probably we do not have to be digital geek in order to adopt the emerging technologies. And so we probably we are not trained to be the programmers or the we will not work on the coding or anything, but how we can adopt those technology as appropriate to our services. So before I deep dive into the presentation, so may I request you to give me the response on the survey, a small survey. So please log in to menti.com and enter the code you are seeing on the screen. So it is a kind of small exercise after your lunch. So before we really have the longer presentation. So please use your mobile, go to menti.com and enter the code 7180 and 2400. So if you have any issues accessing having access to menti.com, you can check the chat. We provide you the link and the code. So the first question we ask about your understanding how to apply the new technology in judicial processes. And so start from 0, no understanding, and to 5 in the scale, you have the in-depth understanding. So I reiterate again, please visit menti.com and enter the code as provided in the chat. We have right now on this slide we have seen about 20 respondents already, and so we're gonna wait for the others to join. Okay. So I review again. I invite all of you to visit www.menti.com and then use the code on the top of the screen 2180 and 2400. Right now we have seen 31 respondents, and most of the responses choose 3, having like medium certain level of understanding about digital transformation. So we gonna collect the responses in order to conduct the exercises tomorrow, right? Because if we get your responses on 5, right, we have to review our exercises of tomorrow. So for the improving of your understanding on the digital technology, we can like improve by ourselves, and it is necessary for us in order to learn and have the better understanding, because we really need to adapt ourselves to the emerging technologies. So, okay, I'm gonna move to the next question. And some of you may face difficulty logging into menti.com web. And so it seemed that from the response, most of us have some kind of understanding. And there are two responses in 5, right? So we would like to discuss further on with you on that. Next question. Next question. Do you agree with the adoption of the technologies in judicial system, judicial processes? And you just reply 0, not agree, and 5, most agreeable with the statement. I have seen only one response to this question. What happened to this? Okay. There are certain lacks on Menti part. So most of the responses, there are about 34 respondents. So most of you agree to the adoption of the new technologies to the judicial processes. So we have seen certain benefits from implementing the new technologies. Actually, it is not only limited to judicial process. Technologies can be applied to different sectors. But again, for certain sector, the new technology can bring about more complexity. But again, we have to think about upholding the core values in judicial system, even we gonna adopt the new technology. For instance, the integrity or rule of law, or we have to think about the issues of digital divide when we plan for adoption of the digital technology, and we have to make the assessment about the appropriateness of implementing the technology. So let I go further. Next question. Do you think that the technology is necessary, and whether it can improve the judicial Thai judicial system for more efficiency? 0 is not necessary, and 5 is the most necessary. So we have the kind of distribution in your responses. One of the respondents give one answer. It is not necessary. And it is also true in a way, because adopting of the technology, probably it is not translated into improving of the efficiency in itself. And for your answer, it is very interesting also. So you may open up your microphone and give your reason as an exchange. While we are waiting for other respondents, any of you who would like to discuss, please turn on your microphone and give your feedback, comment a little bit. So, but I on my screen, I cannot see the raised hand, so you can just turn on your microphone. But again, most of the responses are in the area of 4 and 5. So most of you believe that the technology is necessary and can improve the efficiency in Thai judicial system. So we have kind of rather positive attitude toward emerging technologies. And I can share with you, I asked the same question, asked other government agencies, but most of them respond that it is unnecessary. But here, most of the responses believe that it is necessary, and it shows a positive mindset, like we heard from the speakers in the morning. The digital transformation, it is not only the technology, but the human element is the key driving the transformation to happen. And I am glad to see this kind of like positive attitude. And anybody would like to share your comment, like the reason behind how you why you put the scale like this? Anyone of you, if you have your comment, please like turn on your microphone and have an intervention. So please allow me to. I have seen no hands rises. Right. So when we are talking about the technology, and like we heard earlier, the technologies are changing today public services, any services at all, including the judicial services, and different processes, like for instance the parliamentary processes for the executive power, and for the whole government gearing up to transform into the digital government. And so different government agencies are working on these changes. Firstly, the digital technology will bring about the changes in customers' experiences. There will be changes on the interactions between the public sector and the customers. So all kind of the interaction, how to like communicate digitally, and including how to file the complaint, how to file complaints to the court, for instance. And secondly, on the for the train, in the past, the customers have to visit the office because all everything are stored at the office, probably also on the server at the office. But right now we have different kind of mobile applications that can facilitate the access and everything. And we heard about it in the morning from the Thai speakers about the integration of different services, judicial services, and for improving the accessibility. On the third part, it is related to the data. We will see more big data, and we will be seeing the machine learning, the AI solutions, and and so and most of the time we are talking about the real-time data. The data will be updated real time. and it will be very relevant and very essential for the data makers. And in the past, different kind of data sets are not that real time, and for instance, for the census data, we have to wait for the data every 2 years. There will be the consensus census exercises, but we gonna have more approaches in order to handle the real-time based data, and because it can like respond to the changes, frequent changes, and different agencies will introduce different toolkits. For instance, different kind of the social listenings or different kind of the satellite data will be used, and we will see more AI power solutions, more machine learning, and there will be the automated processes that will not require human intervention, and probably there will be more trained robotic processes to work for human. So for the business as usual processes will be obsolete, and it will be changed to more automation and everything. So we will see different kind of changes in public services. And what about in the judicial work, like what are court technologies applied in 2022, and how access to technology will like underpin access to justice. So there are 4 trends identified. The first one, it is the people-centric justice administration, and we heard it from different speakers since in the afternoon, and we learned about the digital strategy plan, and we heard about the designing of the application solutions. It shall be based on people-centric, people-centered services, and whether it is the services inside the court administration or any kind of services are provided to the public. So for the design of any technology or any solutions, we have to focus on people-centric in order to respond to the real pain points. The second trend, it is related to increased digitization of court processes from end to end, from filing the reports, and we have seen different technologies were adopted in advanced countries. They streamline different processes, and they just transform in all the processes to digital platform. And this second trend were expedited by the pandemic, and so there will be better access from the public to the services and processes. And different kind of the paper process, paper forms and processes will be digitalized. So the paper form will transform into e-form and everything. And the third trend, we heard a lot about leveraging of a cloud technology. Different kind of data will be on the cloud, and so apart from work from home, it could be work from anywhere, and different kind of servers will be on the cloud. And last trend number 4, we're gonna move into the machine readable world. So how we gonna transform the paper-based documentations into machine readable format. And the key reason to transform the analog one into the digital one, because they will be in the data form. In many countries, they change different case files stored in paper-based into the digital form. And so different kind of the back-end infrastructures transform and will facilitate or further use of those assets. So the 4 trends will be like adopted further in the judicial world. And for the terms, different terminology, I would like to recap a little bit about the digitalization. What are the meaning of those terms? I start from the first one. When we enter into the digital transformation, we have to understand the term digitization. It is the process of making information, any kind of data available and accessible in digital form, so that they can be further used and utilized by different parties. And so it will provide for easier access to everybody. And second process, so apart from digitization, we have to follow by digitalization, which means I saw the chat, the question in the chat. So if you have the urgent questions, you can just like turn on the mic and speak up. But again, it's okay to put in the chat, and we're gonna ask our speakers to respond later on. For the second process of the digitalization, it means the act of making processes more automated through the use of digital. Under this process, we have to develop applications and solutions to process and further automate everything. And next term, digital transformation. So at this phase, we go further. It means we're gonna change the operation process. We have to change the organization culture. We have to change the mindset, like we heard in the morning. About the success factors of the digital transformation are related to different skills that can support us to realize the digital transformation. And for the third one, it is like our dream. We have to realize this kind of dream. So we have the digital strategic plan in place for Thai judicial system, right? And we heard about the presentation that the whole organization, the whole judicial system gonna change, and it require all the judicial staff, including judges, to learn and to understand about the technological skills. And I can say that all the public agencies are not limited to judicial world that have to change and to transform into digital transformation, but it's gonna take time. And like I said, digital technologies emerge very fast, and then we have to understand and adopt them. But we have to test them, probably become up with the rapid prototyping, and then we like set up the sandbox for testing the pilot test or anything, and then we identify the key processes that we can make adjustment and we can further deploy it and implement. The digital transformation cannot happen uh, in a few days. So we need to come up with the appropriate proposition and proper processes to improve and make adjustment. So let I summarize for this round that digital is not about technology. It is about people, including all the staff, and we have to understand that it is strategy, not technology, that can drive digital transformation for realization. And we have to like create the appropriate culture to respond to that. So I pause here just a little bit. So may I ask anyone of you have any question or comment as you just turn on the mic, and so we discuss about the overview, the big picture of digital transformation.
Does anyone have any comments? If not, then we'll just continue. Next, I would like to tell you why there is a need for the Thai courts to be engaged in digital transformation. The first one is the strategic plan of the court. That is the latest one. That is the plan for 2022 to 25. If you look at the strategies, that is T, like trust in the deliver of justice, and also the R, reliability at the international level, and also the third one is uniformity. And so that means that the from all the courts to be uniform, and also the sustainability. Then the last one, transformation. It's about the innovations that is going to be convenient, fast, and efficient of that for the court systems. So we can use the technologies to help to reach according to this each strategy. So like for example, the last one that is clear about using innovations to facilitate the justice delivery. And as someone mentioned in the morning about the each case, we have we will require different fields of data, and then if we do have the digital transformation, so we need to have a common kind of forms that is basically this is the push for having a common format. And if you look at the whole the goals of the court, we know that we can use we can adopt the technology to help to contribute to the achievements of the goals. And so basically deliver justice for the population, and also upholding human rights and the rule of law. And so if we look at the international level, various standards like the IFCE, for example, the International Framework for Court Excellence, and the Doing Business of the World Bank, and the Rule of Law Index of the World Justice Project, you can see that these are the main frameworks that when we talk about the courts, these frameworks will be mentioned. The criteria for each standards talks mention directly the use of technological, the digital technology. If you look at the strategies, go back to the strategies about raising the credibility of the Thai courts at the international level, and that is why we need digital technology transformation in order to reach a higher level of scoring. In terms of doing business, you may be familiar with this. It's not just about the judicial system, but doing business is very important for the business sectors and the investors. When foreign investors are coming into the country, and they will make a comparison among countries, for example, in the ASEAN level, and before they can choose which where to put their investment. And they definitely would look at the legal environment that is fair, transparent, and that will contribute to the credibility and the trust and the confidence of the investors. So the digital transformation of the court will, apart from serving the people, but it also contributes to attracting investors and supporting the economy as well. So that's why that's why the courts have to see the importance of this. And if you feel on the Menti question about whether you see the necessity of adopting the digital technology, then here is one of the reasons why you need to see this necessity. When we talk about digital technology or digital transformation, one thing we need to keep in mind is that what is needed is really the culture in upholding courts values. And because in the making decisions about which technology to use, one criteria is that they don't infringe on the court's values and violate. I think the judges are familiar with the principles of impartiality, transparency, accessibility, and equality before the law. And so once when we think of adopting the technology, it's not going to be based on following the trend, but we need to look at balancing the use of technology and the readiness of the people to make use of the technology, because different groups may have different levels of readiness. So we have to make sure that we, by adopting the system, the digital system, is not causing discord in society. So before we launch the digital systems, we really have to consider on the various values upheld by the courts. And next, I just try to show you the picture now that I've talked a lot of theoretical stuff. In practice, how can technology be used in the court system? And this is the overview of the common technologies. And actually, this is based on the research and case studies and interviews. So the findings are these snapshots. And we talked about the use of technology in these ways. One, in case management, and many speakers in the morning talked about this already, and about how to make digitize all the case files so that they can be accessed more easily, and also the use of the cloud system or a way to ensure accessibility among various groups of stakeholders, and also storing data and how to keep it in one platform. And so how to use the back office management is how to make it more efficient using the digital system. And we have heard about disruption, right? COVID situation has been the major factor driving the digital transformation of the different countries, and we have helped a number of countries in this. Before the COVID situation, there were some developments of virtual courts in certain areas, but because of lockdown during the pandemic, so we see almost increase in almost 100% of virtual hearings, and also the dispute settlements through video calls, and as well as witness hearing. Now witnesses could make video calls to give testimony. So these are examples of the use of the technology that have occurred during the pandemic. And of course, there are issues about privacy and about credibility, because some argues that if we allow a video conference for witness hearing, we cannot guarantee the credibility. And then we have to discuss about how to control these virtual hearings better. AI machine learning, and this has been used quite a lot now. And I could tell you later about how it is used for what areas. And it's in any processes that we do, we think we have enough sufficient data in order to teach the machine to learn to process. So, for example, the behaviors of the convicts and or the suspects or the defendants, in what way will it affect the decisions in granting bails or not. And also the AI can also help in drafting the verdicts of the courts. But of course, we need to have sufficient data in order to ensure that the machine will learn how to do this properly. And then public access, e-filing and online forms. So instead of having to come to the court to bring the documents, the e-filing will facilitate the submission of documents. And the Thai courts have already started this process, e-filing process already. And this, in case, particularly when the people who live far away, uploading online documents will save a lot of difficulties. And for data and statistics, yeah, there's a beginning in terms of data collection and of digital data. And so the digital data can be analyzed for trends. And so if you look at all the cases that have gone through this court, you can see the trends of the in terms of the types of the cases and the characteristics of the defendants, and these data, this analysis could provide some insights that could lead to better measures in the future. And And we look at rape cases, for example. If you collect all the case data and it shows that such and such the common features of the perpetrators and the places, then there could be some measures that could be issued in order to reduce the possibility of a rape happening. So these trends can be detected. And for example, so that is one example of the benefit of the machine learning and analysis. The last category is applications. We have talked about super app. There are so many apps these days, and how can you make a super app with all the apps all together? This is not just problems of Thailand. In many cases, in many countries, the way they try to solve the problem of the apps is to create more apps. So it could be the apps or for providing information and so on. But when people in the past who designed their apps did not actually look at the big picture, so it was done in an ad hoc way. But if there's an effort to combine the apps together, I think you can also see the problems of too many apps. Right now, people downloading too many apps are already hundreds on their device. So if we can actually provide this one-stop app, it will be a good next step. And there are some cases of some countries coming out with single applications that have different features involving the judiciary system. So there's an example. So here is just the overview, because we're not going into details in each one. And I think most of these have already been adopted by the Thai courts. Next, I would like to talk about civil cases, how technology can be used in through the court procedures, from filing of the cases. And you can see e-filing or the e-signature, notarization, e-payment, e-discovery. So if we turn these processes into the digital process, it would streamline the work of lawyers, the defendants, and facilitate their involvement quite a lot. So this is just a summarize of these steps that that have already adopted these digital technologies for various purposes, like filing lawsuits, response by the defendants, hearings and trial, and so the e-signature can also be recognized then all through the process of the court. So once, if there's a case, a lawsuit has been filed against anybody, it can be sent, the warrant or the notification can be sent digitally, so that the person can respond without having to show themselves at the court.
การเกิดขึ้นจริงๆนะคะไม่ว่าจะเป็นกระบวนการไกล่เกลี่ยกระบวนการ
This can be used all through the procedures from the hearings and then the virtual hearings or online courts. We already started to see remote courts being used more and more. And the trend is basically in the civil cases, we can see more more hearings are being held online in civil cases more and more, and are becoming more accepted among the courts around the world. So this is to show that when we talk about the digital systems, it's not just piece by piece, but they can be actually used all together in the court procedures. And now we want to talk about the AI or machine learning. And so some quick definitions of AI and machine learning. You may have heard about them, but you may still be unsure about what they are. So AI is a broad term that covers all types of tools like machine learning and facial recognition and natural language processing so when we use the facial recognition to verify your identity, and so that is a facial recognition process, and natural language processing is like collecting the digital language, the digital to. And what is machine learning though? Machine learning is a process of teaching the computers. If we do have a model or the data, we can teach the machine to detect whatever we want and to follow, to use this pattern all the time, and then the machine will be able to do it itself. What is important for AI and machine learning is that the data input is very important. If you input junk data, and of course the machine will produce junk output. So we need to ensure that the data that is fed into the machine are correct. So let's see examples. For the criminal cases, you can see that there are there's teaching algorithm to the computer so that the computer can help you with the analysis. If the perpetrator commits such offense, and if there are thousands and tens of thousands of cases describing perpetrators in each case, then you can actually get the picture about the attributes of the perpetrators in such and such cases. And we have already many have already fed the data into this AI, and then what eventually could come out is how you can actually learn about the patterns of the convictions and sentencing from the cases that have been inputted in the AI system. And the AI will tell you that looking at the past cases and the verdicts in these cases, that will be the sentencing will be about 10 to 20 years, for example. The advantage of this tool is that if you have sufficient data, then it will help the judges, whether in which court to use the sentencing or that is similar in the past cases, so that it shows if all the factors are the same, so that sentencing should be the same. And as you know, there are some factors that might affect the cases, but many countries, that is why many countries still do not are reluctant to adopt the AI technology for this. I think there's some connection problem with Kun Apinya. One moment, we're trying to reconnect. So I'm back now. I'm sorry. This this is a problem of technology. I know that we know we cannot rely on technology all the time. My home internet is not stable enough. I think I'll get back to the cases on violence against women. Can just to go over a little bit more to that we can actually use machine learning to detect the patterns in different cases, the situation where violence, gender-based violence can happen. And from my own experience in helping to develop some tools, I could see that in sexual violence or violence against women cases, the women the victims, the women might have the same situation, might be living in the same situation or as in similar situation. So in which these information could help to contribute to the court in terms of how the living situation could contribute to this, and also maybe some behaviors is indicating the risk for gender-based violence and domestic violence as well. So you can look at all these circumstances of the cases and to trying to determine what circumstances could contribute to the same outcome. And in other cases, when we have when we need to and when we want to grant bails to the criminal defendants, and we wonder if it will be safe for society. So we can use the data in the database to see the patterns and the characteristics of the defendants that may contribute to the confidence of the judge, and also about the so that could help the judges in considering the bail applications. And if we have the data and there are that are in a digital format, we can use the machine to try to identify some insights, various insights, to actually help the court and the court officials. And it's basically to provide support to the judges, but not, of course, to replace the judgments of the judges. And here is one example where the UNDP has been helping. We call this a Justice 4.0 program that we work together with the Justica, the federal and in Brazil. So the court in Brazil. And just for the background, when we talk about Brazil in terms of crimes and the courts, we know that the Brazilian courts have one of the highest workload for the judges in the world. In 2019, one judge had more than 7,000, almost 7,000 cases under the being filed for consideration. So 7,000 cases per one judge per year. What's important is that right now there are 80 million cases that are still pending, awaiting the hearing, and the So as we know, they saying that justice delayed is the same as justice denied. So the judges in Brazil talked to the UNDP about how to improve the efficiency of the courts and also to reduce the workloads of the courts. And so that, and if machine can actually help to do this, so that to reduce the time that the judges will need to spend on the cases, so that they can do more of other things. So before we look at the how the solution is provided when UNDP was trying to help to come out with the solution in Brazil. How we did it was that the first thing is we raised awareness for the court officials, including the judges, so that they see that when we talk about we explain what digital technologies are and what use do they have, and we organize workshops for the frontline officials to see well, the pain, to identify the pain points and how technology can be used to help them expedite their work. And then we do a looking back at the court landscape and to see what where technologies is been used in the court system. And now that we can see what has been done, we can also identify what else to be done further. And what, if we want to move to next step, what would need to be done for the implementation of Justice 4.0 program. The main technology that we used in this program is the AI. What the AI did was to first to do legal classification. There are many litigations, and then the cases filed, and the officials will have to try to sort these cases together. And Brazil had the database of 3 million cases, so that they can do the AI analysis to try to triage and also to classify the cases faster. And the AI can also help us to read certain documents. For example, the power of attorney documents. Once scanned, then it can actually identify who is providing or what power attorney to whom. And then this is some of the work that were carried out together with Brazil. And also we are using some AI in decision makings in identifying certain patterns. What we found, the one problem that we found in Brazil was that the cases where women are involved, on average, women receive injustice or unfairness more than men. For example, when it take more time for women to file a case and wait for the results. So after we implement this tool, we could ensure that all groups in society, including vulnerable groups, to have equal access to the justice system and being treated equally. And once the machine learning is used, the impact is that it reduces the time of the courts spent on classifying the cases, and to also list the court hearings, and the AI can group the cases together so that the cases can be heard and be carried out in court at in the same time. So this is one of the examples of where the computer machine learning can help us. And when if we collect all the data and we have the data on vulnerable groups, and we can see that if the cases are like this, then these groups may need further support because they may risk further violence. So the data can help us to detect the possibilities of an escalating violence, and then which could risk the victims further. So the data, the patterns actually help us to streamline and to reduce the risk on the victims. This is the examples of what we have done in Brazil. It's quite a large project, and there are other technologies involved as well. So if you can Google search, then Justice 4.0 program. The next case is digital case management. As I said that in the when the case files are submitted, how can we make them the submission be online?
การเก็บข้อมูลนะคะอยู่ในรูปของออนไลน์
So we try to gather the data in the online format as much as possible. And so there should be one online portal for the documents to be submitted, digital documents to be submitted. And in terms of the scheduling of the hearings as well, that this should be accessible to all the people. And so if we're going to go into digital case management, how we can ensure access to justice for all peoples. In a case where separation or divorce is being filed in the court, instead of the litigants have to travel to the court, just to submit the documents, they can do the submission online and also receive the notification of receipt also online. And the direct impact is that it helps women in particular, because on average, when involved in divorce cases or domestic or family cases, women have more limitations than men in terms of the financial as well as the and the resources in terms of for hiring lawyers and so on. So if we put everything online, then it would help these women to access the court system. This is an example website from Bangladesh. There has been an effort to try to gather all these court schedules and to put them on one dashboard. And this is an application called My Court app. And so this is I cannot log into this app. I'm sorry, but if I can, I would do it, because you do have to have the ID to actually in order to access it. So this so if you only have to have ID in order to access this, but if you do have an ID, that you can see all the status, the total number of cases, the status of the cases, and you can choose what information you want to access, from which court, the district court, provincial court, which one, and also to look at the type of the different types of the courts. And so it's basically a single platform portal for people to try to look up any information about the court system, instead of having to go to other websites. They can come instead of going to the court website, you can come to the central website in order to access all the courts for updates. And in case you want to find out when will the hearing be and what stage is the cases. Apart from this, there's also a website on e-learning to trying to teach the application My Court that has been developed. As I said, technology is very important to make cloud computation successful. That means that it's the people, the humans who will need to make the system works efficiently. So there have been courses for the judges, for the lawyers, on how to use these apps, and these courses are also open to the public about the justice system. So it's a win-win situation, and so the people can learn about the working of the court system. And I'm not sure how long this has been launched, but I think this is an example of how to implement the digital system. So we have application and course online, and all of this is on a one-stop service called My Court app. This is the Bangladesh situation.
ต้องบอกว่ากรณีนี้นะคะเพนพอยต์เลยก็อาจจะคล้ายๆกับประเทศไทยนะคะที่เมื่อเช้าเนี่ยพี่อยากได้ฟังจากทางท่านผู้พิพากษาเล่าว่าณวันนี้นะคะเคสของแต่ละศาล
This one, it is the same 10 points that we heard about the Thai judicial system in the morning. They face the same thing about the inconsistency enter of the data into different fields for the form. So and after that, there were issues about sharing between different processes. So we support them on developing the case management system. Firstly, starting by support the criminal case management system at different provision courts, how they're gonna develop the one-stop service for criminal case management. And the initial phase was so successful in terms of improving the access to justice and the improvements in terms of the judges and other court officials. And later on, in the later phases, the case management system never scaled and extended to different courts, including the family courts and others. So the platform that we support them include, for instance, the transfer of the case information. We develop the automate transfer of the case related information to different parties. And in the case of there is the appeal filing, and after the appeal filing was launched, the case will be further automated to different parties concerned, the appellate cases. And the case management system will provide the end-to-end services at different processes, including at the bailing stage. and the data upload came from the authenticate the paper file. So all the parties were assured of the validity of the papers. And in the case of any evidences stored on the system were tampered, the system can flag to different parties about the tampering that will happen in the system, and at the same time they plan for data analysis from the data collected from this project. For instance, they collected the data related to the child related violence, child-based violence, and so they can plan for different measures in order to combat with the child-related violence. And this one, it is the kind of the program related to development of the back office system and can like scale to include different functions. Another technology I would like to discuss, it is related to virtual and remote courts. I think all of us here are quite familiar with the technology that were used during the pandemic, and so the online technology for virtual court, it could starting from by the telephone calling or like a video call from the in order to testify by the witnesses. So different parties can use the virtual trials or virtual hearings, and in the case of vulnerable witnesses, and then those victims or those witnesses can like provide the virtual testimony, and certain hearing locations can be transferred to different courts, and for instance, and we can support those group of people who are living in the remote area. I'm gonna give you an example. We will see that the court portal, the secure one, can be set up in the community center, and we will see more of this kind of courts, so that witnesses and parties can appear easily, and for different group of people can have better access to the court services. I give you another example. It is the initiative in Malaysia supported by UNDP, and in Malaysia, their country is quite similar to Thailand, and there are different remote areas, and without the accessibility of the infrastructure, and they have people have to travel quite long distance to the court. So the High Court in Malaysia initiated these services. So like instead of requiring people to travel to the court, so the court rather travel to the people. So they initiated the mobile court program. Then under the program, there are buses. There are the kind of the mobile court equipped with all the electronic and technological equipments, and so the bus will like travel to the remote areas, so that they can provide the court proceedings there at the remote locations. So if we ask this concept could be happen in Thailand, but after the implementation of this initiative in Malaysia, we heard a lot of good feedback, and another indirect benefits are that when they were in the remote areas, for instance, in the northern mountainous area, and when mothers had new babies, they could not register. They cannot like acquire the birth certificate for their babies, right? And there were impacts from the regarding the birth certificates. So in Malaysia, they have similar issues that we have in Thailand. So anytime when they send the mobile court to visit specific locations, they can provide additional services, for instance, for the newborn baby certificate issuance, right? And another positive impact from this program. And most of the time, the villagers they have the land disputes among themselves. So when the government officials were there, they could have an access to the legal advice. So other impacts can be mitigated by the mobile court program. So apart from different legal services, and the mobile services can provide the legal knowledge, and we are quite proud. It is a very successful program supported by UNDP. Somehow it seemed to be a kind of a very simple solution, but this kind of a simple solution can create the vast impacts. So let's look at another case. Now I'm talking about development of applications and tools. So for simple application, for instance, for the messaging services that can send the alert and messages, for instance, to the people, and the application that can provide the answers to any queries from the public. For instance, they would like to know certain steps to take for certain court processes. So any citizens who may have any legal questions, the chatbot can be developed in order to provide rapid responses. And at the same time, this kind of tools can release the court staff from the heavy burdens in order to provide information to the people. So if we look at the cases, and we have to identify pain points, and we have to resolve those pain points. It could be small or microservices, or there's very small solution. And this kind of small solutions I can combine into super apps later on that can provide the services for the court. And it could be the small app that people can download and use. And here is the example from Thailand. It's MySys application. It's a chatbot and supported by the AI technology. And when it is a pretty good successful case, and the idea of this application, and they identified that for the cases of the domestic violence, in the case of gender-based violence, and most of the time women victims were not ready to report the incidents to the policemen. So why don't the application be developed and provided for women victims for reporting the cases? And in this case, so the messages will explain that since you are the victims of the rape, you should not like wash your body or take a bath, but you have to see the doctor and report to the officers right away, because or else the like physical evidence on the body or the trace evidence will be destroyed after the bathing, right? So the MySys chatbot were developed by the Thai agencies to receive the reports from the sexual harassment victims, and I use this example to show that the participant here can understand how they respond to the incidents, and then the data will be captured, and we use those data collected for training our bots, and the bot can identify the pattern in the questions. And here is how we apply the technology, the AI and chatbot. And then because the victims can report, for instance, at 1 or 2 a.m. at night, while there is no human interface. Next one, this one, the e-court in Ukraine. The application was developed to optimize the different processes for the citizens who would like to have interaction with the court. So this application will be used by firstly by the parties to the case. They can upload the evidences, the documents to as an evidence to the cases, and at the same time they can track the status of their filing, whether their filing was proceeded to reviewing process or to different processes, and they can check all the update using different features by the application. And what I explained, I try to use the cases that are funded by UNDP or supported by UNDP. And because if you have any question, and we can have the information and answers for you from our experiences. And we develop the global mapping of the e-justice projects. So you can click on the map on the different colors, and you look at the different countries who are using the case management system, or whether they are using different technologies. And there are different kind of projects, and some of the projects we are working with them as partners, and some of them we are working as a key drivers, and there are a number of interesting projects. So we talk a lot about technologies right now, and if we look at our perspective, what are our UNDP perspectives, and we use the term innovative when we are using the innovations. It doesn't mean that it has to be a digital technology only. So that's why we develop the kind of justice futures collab. So we use the new thinking approach, the innovative thinking approach. and the so-called design thinking. I think you heard it a lot. And for design thinking, it can bring us the new ideas that can be further developed. And during the design thinking, we use different kind of tools. For instance, the system mapping and others to toolkits, and we look at any issues, any problem as a systematic issues that we can look at different dimension. And in the case we can make certain change to the system, we can find our solution. We can find the solution to our pain points. And again, another solution, we use the new mechanism to understand and to understand, and we can empathize. We can use the innovative step to understand and develop, and then we use the technology later on. So for this program, we can work at the policy level in terms of the policy lab, and if you are interested, and we can apply different toolkits in order to bring about the digital transformation. We can talk offline about it. And like I said earlier, in terms of working with the lab, right, tools, so we have to scan the ecosystem. We have the scanning, and we understand our challenges, and we understand the context of the court, right? And different issues. It is not that in Thailand alone that we face the issues, so we can copy their practices, their solutions to resolve our problems, right? So we, starting from scanning, we understand better about our questions, and then we can develop our prototype, and we test our proposed prototype before we understand the results, and we can further adapt our prototype into deploy in the real world. And so like we heard about developing the sandbox, about testing in the sandbox environment before we learn better, and we fine tune, and then we can deploy. But this kind of processes, we have to work in looping. We have to and then when we are talking about the digital transformation, I would like to propose the framework, UNDP framework for inclusive whole of society digital transformation. Like I said, for digital transformation, it is the human that count, that matter. It is not the technology itself. So we have to understand all the stakeholders. We have to understand the risks and vulnerable areas. And the key point is that we have to focus on the inclusiveness, and we have to focus also about equality, about the access by all, right? And we have to provide the fairness and justice to all, whether they are the rich or poor. And we have to understand the key area. The digital foundation, it is about the infrastructure, about the strong digital foundation, and at the same time the involvement of the public agencies. And we have to rising the capacity by building the capacity for all involved. And we have to understand the impacts of the PDPA, the impacts of the cybersecurity acts, and different area of the technological development. So it is not limited to the literacy skills of the core staff involved. So At UNDP, we also developed the online course to explain about the framework in order to leverage for digital transformation. And regarding the data itself, we heard that we have to provide the protection for data privacy, right? And we have to balance also about the data security, and but we should not like intrude the data privacy, and we have to apply different principles. And so when any public agency at all, when they will plan for the digital transformation journey, so UNDP have to explain about data principles that they have to follow about the improving the safeguarding, applying the human right principles, and have to embed into the data policy. So we have different tools to support the public programs. So, but if we, since we are talking about the judicial integrity and we are talking about the court organizations, so we have to look at how we're going to assess e-justice projects. So now we have to look at the different area, for instance, about the protection of the human rights, about not leaving no one behind, and we have to focus also about the risk management after we like adopt the digital technologies, whether it's gonna create negative impacts to the private of the human rights or etc. So we have to take into account different dimension and different area. And when we are talking about not leaving no one behind, so if we have to put on the UNDP hat, we have to understand about the issues of the gender-based violence. For instance, we have to be aware of the like for instance the issues of the LGBTQ, and we also secondly, on the second key point, we need to be aware of the persons with disabilities, because many public agencies when they start their digital transformation journey, they forgot about the access by the persons with disabilities, and we have to improve their accessibility by different tools. And we have also need to take into account different vulnerable groups. For instance, certain groups they have like minimum access to internet connection, and for there are different kind of vulnerable groups that we have to take into account to provide for e-justice. So let I give you the summarize. Here is this the summarized overview. So we have to have to understand the key judicial values, and we need to understand the institutional factors about the readiness and preparation and the support from the key leaders management, and we have to look at the readiness of the infrastructure. It is the preconditions, and we have to understand the technological and organizational factors. And for the infrastructure, so we have the kind of the back office enterprise system, and we have the underlying infrastructure system that we have to assess and everything. So here is the journey of the digital transformation. It is not the like kind of the sequential and the or the kind of the linear journey, and then we need to understand also the underlying end users. We have to like develop the pilot. We have to test, and we have to like learn the insight, understand the insights from the testing, and we understand about this kind of the the helix that we have to went through, but it will be better off, better than the like deploy the untested solution, and we end up with the solutions that no one would like to have, and because of the collecting incorrect the requirements, user requirements. So we need to test our solutions developed first, and then we can run the kind of the rapid test, and then we check the results and after that we gonna make more investment on the scale up for the successful solutions. And this one is this slide. I add this slide in the morning after hearing the panelists. So and we heard about the SROI in the morning and understand all the impacts and everything. But at UNDP, we are using one metric. So it is the SDG, the Sustainable Development Goals. And there are 17 SDG goals that cover different issues, different challenges we are facing globally, whether it is the social issues or environmental issues. So I raise up this slide because when we conducted the impacts assessment, whether we are working on any projects, we don't have to use the monetize indicators. So then what kind of the indicators are we gonna use? So basically we gonna apply the SDG metric, and these SDG goals adopted by more than 190 nations, and all the nations agree to achieve all 17 goals of SDG in 2030. So if we have to deep dive a little bit to different targets under each goal, right? So when we gonna formulate the e-justice program, the program will like cover different area of the SDG goals, right? And I think when I discuss about different case studies, I raise up about the gender issues, and gender issues fall under SDG 5 on the gender equality, and it can relate that to other SDGs goal also. For instance, on the SDG 8 and on the following SDG 11 on the sustainable cities and communities. And actually, any goal can like have an impact and can be related to different goals. But actually, for the SDG, it is not under my topic in the first place, but what I'm talking now, it is another UNDP framework related to SDG targeting, and we at UNDP we developed different toolkits to support you in the case you would like to conduct the impact assessment to against different projects and programs, so we can apply the SDG metric to the e-justice program also. And right now the private sector also embrace to the SDG metric. So many corporations are applying the SDG indicators to their CSR programs. But we don't have to focus on how to monetize any indicators, but we can use this metric for the same purpose. So if any judge would like to start the digital transformation journey, UNDP already developed the toolkit, and we heard from Sarah in the morning. She mentioned about one of the document related to the toolkit on the strategic transformation to e-justice. So you can download the whole document. So I prepare my slide, but I went through at length more than I prepare. So I would like to reiterate once again that digital is not about technology. It is about people, and it is also about culture, corporate culture, and mindset, and the strategy, not technology, that drive digital transformation. So at the end of the day, it will be the gadgets that can drive the justice to happen. So after this, may I lead you into small exercises and probably for preparation you for the workshop tomorrow. But again, may I open up for any question, any comment or feedback? So please turn on your microphone and speak up. And you may share your experiences if you have any thing at all, please. Anybody have any feedback, or you may share experiences? Probably you have practices, you have best practices, and you have the solution you developed at your course, and anything at all. So you can give us the overview, and your practice could be the best practices that can be shared to others also. May I ask a question? I have seen the case on in Bangladesh, the UNDP supported program. Why you started off by developing the criminal case file case management system first, because the criminal cases involve different parties and different actors, right? Including the enforcement parties, the policemen, and anything. But why don't you start with the civil case? It will be easier, but in terms of the different processes, I think it was not that easy, right? And what is the trigger? And actually, we asked the same question, actually, because our partner, the judicial organizations in Bangladesh, they raise up, is the same question we asked. Because we should start off with a civil case, right? But again, the way they thought, they believe that if we start off by civil case, it will be difficult in terms of scale up and apply with the criminal cases, right? But again, in terms of beginning with the criminal cases, we develop certain elements of the processes related to criminal cases, and they would like us to test the concept by starting with the criminal cases. And so, but in the case we decided to start off with the civil cases, there are less smaller factors and fewer factors, and probably it's difficult in terms of scale later. And we have certain experiences starting off in Thailand with the civil cases. But like you said, that there are different elements, different factors involved in the civil case management. And in Thailand, we can set up the sandbox and we can control different elements. But for lawyers, one element, it is a lawyer that lawyers are not under our control, right? And in terms of the relevant procedures, like different parties are familiar with the manual procedures, and it is related to using the paper documents. And if we would like to scale and work with the lawyers, they are not like well prepared, and we are not quite sure that only the e-learning modules like for preparing them with, and I would like to ask how they prepare different parties. I agree with you on the points you raised, and we need to have the feedback loop. We have to listen up to different parties involved, because there will be issues during the real implementation. So before the deployment, we conducted the different workshops. There are like many workshops I can tell you, and I developed different prototypes, and we deploy each feature. We have a different loop of feedback looping, right? And it is not that we complete everything at one go, like you said, because at the end of the day, probably the lawyers are not ready for them. Now it is not my question, but I saw the comment related to any plan to apply the blockchain technology in the judicial work. But what I heard about Estonia. They apply the blockchain technology, right? On this one, so I would like to give you an answer from my experiences. Yes, I heard about Estonia, but they focus firstly on the real estate contract, and they apply the smart contract technology underlying the blockchain, embedded in the blockchain technology. But in terms of applying blockchain to the court proceedings, I haven't seen the implementation of the blockchain. And I myself, I cannot foresee how to give the approval to the smart contract. But in the case of like apply the blockchain with the real estate or title deeds, right? It can use the smart contract features of the blockchain. And another country that I can think of, I think in China, they use blockchain for store of the evidences submitted to the court. Because for the other technology, if they were hacked and the servers can be down and they can lose all the evidence. But in the case of using the blockchain, they can preserve the evidences, right? apart from China and Estonia, then in Estonia, they have the national blockchain. It is not like only the judicial system blockchain, but it's a national blockchain, and that the judicial system run on top of that national blockchain in Estonia. Thank you very much.
อ๋อไม่มีใครถามเลยไม่งั้นผมถามนะผม
So
ถาม
if no other question, let me ask again then.
มีคำถามถ้าเทียบกับ
It is the question like
บ่ายน่าจะเริ่ม
comparing
ส่วนที่เป็น
to the morning
แล้ว
sessions,
ก็แบบที่มันมี
and in the afternoon we heard
ว่าแบบ
more about like
ในศาลไม่ง่าย
apply AI, and we heard that it is not easy for AI implementation in the judicial
มันน่าจะเป็นกฎ
work,
เด็ดพลายของศาลประเทศไทยประเทศมัน
and
ว่าบางมันเหมือนแบบ
and I think it is a kind of specific context to apply
มีความรู้สึกว่าแบบ
the AI for specific like scenarios in that nation, right, that countries. And from hearing your use cases presented, and like anything that you may share more insightful cases. And actually for the cases that I touch upon, it represent the key trends. But again, during the implementation, they have to make adjustment according to their context, and at the same time they have their own historical and statistical data in that country, right? And they have to use that data to train the machine, for instance. And another part of the AI, for instance, they use the like the related to the translation for the like letter character recognitions, right? But in Thailand, I think it will be long way in order to develop the character recognition. But for other countries, for instance, when they apply the character recognition with the English language, like power of attorney, for instance, but in Thailand, we only scan the paper document into the system. But for the in Brazil, it is very effective using the character recognition in that process. In Brazil, I think they have different official language. Yes, there are Portuguese and English, but I understand that they use the Latin character set. So their implementation would be easier than us. And I discussed with developer and for Thai characters, and there are different kind of the characters. We are the kind of the complex characters, not the Western character set. So, but if we look into it, how to apply the character recognition and let the machine read our documents, it will be beneficial. And and again, it be for Thai, I discussed with the court staff. For the other languages, they develop for so long on the character recognition. They have better results than the Thai one. And in terms of the voices or speech recognition, speech detect, is different technology, but for hand writing, it is key challenges also. For the ineligible handwriting, it will be difficult for train the machine to read. But again, for the speech recognition, the tonal differences may be like smaller than. And in Thailand, we have the dialects, local dialects. And I just wonder about whether there are technology that handle the dialects. I'm not quite sure about that. But personally, for a central dialect, I apply with the like northern villagers, the speech recognition apps that can detect. I never like use the application that can handle the northern dialect version, right? I'm not quite sure. I'm not quite sure for the speech protect. The apps can detect speech dictate. So, and when we use in the courtroom during the trial, I just wonder whether speech dictate can detect different sounds of different people. So I used to work with that apps, and during the group's interviews, we have more than 10 people, and it capture every speech from different people. And there is another question in the chat about how to have an access for like identity authentication, right? Most of the time, right now, it is the facial recognition, the similar technology that different banks are using. And at the Bank of Thailand, right now, they are working on developing the digital ID, and they are gonna create the digital ID for authentication, and it can be linkage to the like personal ID card. And I believe that we right now we can like open up the bank account online by have some kind of the self identity authentication. And right now we have BOT to lead on this one. Any more question? If no more question, another request for admissibility of the evidence through virtually, like in
มันเป็นวิธีการที่ถูกไหมละกันนะคะแต่ว่าขอเป็นยกเป็นเคสละกันที่ตอนแรกที่พยายามบอกว่าทำไมบางประเทศเนี่ยค่อนข้างไม่พร้อมที่จะทำ virtual นะคะเพราะรู้สึกว่าพยานรอบข้างมีใครเราก็ไม่รู้อะไรอย่างเงี้ยค่ะแต่สิ่งที่เขาพยายามจะทำ
why some countries are not ready to do virtual hearings. And what I've seen is that you need to have the camera on all the time, first thing, and then you have to place the camera where you the whole room is shown the environment around the speakers. I'm not sure what happens in the Thai court, but where I've seen is that there is also an official there to look to observe the behaviors of the witnesses or those who are giving testimonies, because there are some pauses that are not natural, so that could reflect some problematic behaviors. So there's usually in the court, the judges that will be on the bench, and then that official will be sitting down there to observe. What are the penalties for witnesses that have these behaviors? So you're talking about there are in other countries. For example, the witness is in another country and needs to testify online, and they had problems of coaching. There's a coaching problems of how do you enforce the rules. I am sorry, I am not a lawyer, and I cannot but I'm just talking about from the experience that I have seen. I think it would be like the same court processes. So you have to take an oath first. But in terms of the legal procedures about penalties, I cannot answer the questions because I don't know. And I'm sure every country may have different penalties and how much attention they paid on this, but these are the concerns and that pose some obstacles for moving towards virtual hearings. Tomorrow we're going to be having a workshop, and we would like to hear from the judges as well about whether what technology can be used and in what way, because I myself am not used to the court procedures, but I'm involved in the technical side of it. So I'd like to hear from the judges themselves about the challenges and also the court officials, so that we can learn about how to help to scale up the use of technologies in court. Definitely we don't know the problems that well, as well as the court, the judges and the court officials themselves. One thing, I'm not sure, do you have this kind of system where the witnesses and the lawyers are testifying online, and they should send, is there a system when you can send your mobile number so that it can be checked where the location of the mobile phones are? Yeah, there is this kind of a tracking system. So sometimes it's sending the link, and so you have to click the link to verify the location, so that we want to make sure that there is the proper location that they are in. I think the organizer has asked me to stop at 4 o'clock. So actually, I have questions about challenges, but I think we can move this to tomorrow, because tomorrow we will be working in workshops and to trying to discuss about the opportunities. Well, there will be short workshops so that we to familiarize the judges to the process, and so that we can discuss about possibilities. So now I have to stop my session. So to end my session now, so leaving the organizer to explain the logistics for tomorrow. Thank you very much, everyone, and I will leave my email in the chat box. And if you have any questions or any recommendations, you can write to me. Thank you. Thank you, Kun Apinya. And before we return the stage to the Judicial Training Institute, I'd just like to, I am sure that many people might know the actual implementation of the technologies. We will hear from the judges from Fiji, who earlier was the Supreme Court judge from India, and then we have Malaysia, and in the afternoon there will be some presentation from the UK, from the persons who are actually the judge who had was involved in the initiatives during the COVID situation. So in terms of contents, and if you have any questions, technical questions during the workshops, we can try to brainstorm the questions and challenges and the concerns so that we can move forward to to lead to the next step. That will be in the afternoon. The workshop will be in the afternoon. And this is the initial workshop, and we have a plan to conduct the workshops in the long run as well. So this is the content of tomorrow. And now I'll pass the microphone to the Judicial Training Institute. I'm not sure whether the Judicial Training Institute has anything to say now about today and as well as tomorrow. Okay. So now we have the last minute. If you don't have anything else, so tomorrow we will start at 8:45 when you can join, and then we start to hear from the experience from India, Indonesia, and Malaysia from 9 o'clock onwards. In the afternoon, we will split in breakout rooms and we'll have 1 hour workshops and then report backs later on. And then there will be some experience from the UK, and we will have a kind of a wrap up in the end. If there is nothing else to announce, I would like to close the seminar today, and we'll see you again tomorrow at 8:45.